Roll. Holly. Here. Bill.
Here.
Janice. Here. Me. Jessica.
Yes, here.
Here.
No, Kathy and Trevor said they couldn't make it.
Trevor might get here later.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
he's gonna be on the 5 o'clock vote, so.
But we have a quorum, so I think we should go ahead. So the first item is approval of the minutes. Did you all get the minutes from the previous meeting?
Yes.
Any issues?
I move to approve.
A second.
Any discussion? All right, we'll go for roll call vote. To approve the minutes, Jessica,
Yes,
Ava,
Yes.
okay, Holly.
Yeah.
There's Joe. Bill,
Yes.
Janice.
Yes.
Me, yes. In the minutes.
Definitely.
Okay, so I'm just gonna make an adjustment to the, agenda. Since Tom is here to talk about item number 10. Discussion of fuel oil supplies on the island and how we can help that. This obviously could be a really long discussion. We don't have huge amount of time, so.
I think he should wait his turn.
No, so if you could, go through what you wanted to talk about and then we can, decide whether there's a subgroup that wants to work on.
Thank you. I just spoke with Harriet about a couple of things that had come to me as chair of IESC. And
I have one.
they were interesting. So she asked if I would come and speak to you about some of these things too. What precipitated it was, the fuel truck that PYY uses to service the island market, failed a couple of weeks ago. And so I got a call from Sky and from Gabe, and said that without a pump truck, the store would be out of fuel in less than a week. And the island would be out of retail service for gasoline in less than a week. So Gabe applied to ISC for a loan to buy a new pumper truck. And we immediately approved that, and he went out and bought a $65,000 truck through Dysarts. And that's part of the cumbersome arrangement that's here on Islesboro that gives gasoline to you as the public. We knew this, ISC knew this when we bought the island market, that the infrastructure up there was antiquated. And the problem is that Dysarts brings a gas truck over that has something like 20,000 gallons of 20,000 gallons of gasoline in it. And they won't talk to the island market about servicing them directly unless they could take a complete truck of gasoline fuel at one go. The tanks at the store hold about 2,000 gallons of gasoline, so that's never worked. So the arrangement is that PYY works as a distributor. They buy gas from Dysarts. They come over in 2 gasoline trucks on a special run that costs $3,000 for the ferry. And then PYY sells the gasoline to the island market and has to have a pumper truck to bring it to the store and fill up their tanks. There is no other reasonable solution to that because the infrastructure there at the store is out of code, and the state allows it to exist, but only changeable for repairs. If we change anything substantive about the system, we would have to make the entire system code worthy, and that would be a $200,000 or $300,000 project. All of us at ISC and at the store and Gabe all assume that in 10 years, the island will need much less gasoline and we will have fewer internal combustion engine cars. So what do? Sky and Gabe have both told me the best solution they can see is to limp along with the system as it is, until it fails. So with that in mind, trying to be proactive, I started thinking about how can we foster the electrification of Islesboro and promote EVs. My two sons happened to be at home when I was talking about this, and they said, "Oh, you should ask Claude. You should ask AI to write up a proposal for you." So I did that. I wrote up a couple of paragraphs about the problem, and asked Claude to ask me questions before it wrote up a proposal. And it came back with several interesting questions. One, for instance, how many cars rich for here are year-round residents, and how many cars are owned by seasonal residents? It went through a couple of other good questions, and it came up with a proposal that's summarized on the back of that sheet I just gave you. So this is an AI-generated proposal, and I now sort of understand one of the problems with AI work is that they can put a really good spin on anything. So this is like a really good spin on a solution, and it's not bad. But with that in mind, that we're looking toward the sunset of internal combustion engines here, then how do we do something proactively to be prepared for that? These are all just suggestions. I'm not asking you to do anything, and I'm not prepared right now for IESC to do anything specific. But here's some things that we should, as a community, be looking to do. Install additional level 2 chargers. It would be nice to have one at the library. It'd be nice to have one at the ferry terminal. We should distribute information to the citizenry about the availability of Efficiency Maine. They will now give anyone a level 2 charger for their home for $129. And I spent almost $3,000 on one to install for the unit itself, and then I had to pay for it installed in my barn. And I don't know if anyone else has gone through this process. So this is an amazing deal from the state, but you still have to have them installed. Yes.
I actually don't have those. I have an electric car and a hybrid. And I purchased a wire that I plug into the outlet on the outside of my house. And it charges, I mean, it's a trickle charge, but it works out fine.
Yeah.
And it was like, I don't know, $129, something
Yeah.
like that.
And with what they call that kind of charger, you can get I can get about 50 miles of range overnight when I plug in. A level 2 charger that I have in my barn now can charge my EV from 0 to 100% overnight. And then, of course, a high-speed charger, a DC charger on the mainland, can charge my car in 20 minutes. So
Those are up in the ten
that's
to
a
$20,000 range though.
Hmm?
Those are up in the $10,000 to $20,000 range.
Yes, and I did poke around about that, and a high-speed charger costs $30,000, and it's a significant demand on the grid. But anyway, those are things to think about. We can also, as a town, yes.
I wasn't aware of the Efficiency Maine EV rebate program. Is that real? Did
Yeah.
you validate that with Clark,
Yeah,
outside
yeah.
of Clark?
That's still real. Yeah,
All right,
they still give rebates. The feds have certainly scaled back, but Efficiency Maine will still, as it says on the back here, if you're buying a new EV, you
Yeah.
can get $7,500.
cool.
They have funds that they've been allocated that have not been used up yet.
So we should at least inform the public here about those options. A level 2 charger, cheap from the state, Efficiency Maine rebates on new and used EV purchases. And the AI generated proposal also suggested that we try to contact some of the dealerships on the mainland, Lee, Darling, the big ones, and say, you know, what could you do for us if we were to try to promote people selling you their used electrified car and purchase an EV from you also. You know, can you facilitate that? Can you give us some breaks along the way? Anyway, those are all things that I've come up with to talk about, and it's just talk. And I'm throwing it at you because you're the Energy Committee, and this seems to be more in your purview than IESC. We would be, you know, certainly welcome. We would welcome any kind of invitation to help fund some of this. But there's my spiel.
Great.
Any questions?
No, my mind's going nuts
So-
though, because it's just,
Do the rebates apply to plug-in hybrids too, or only fully electric?
The rebates?
Yeah.
I think those only apply to true EVs.
you know why there's a range?
Pardon me?
You know why there's a range?
Arrange with what,
Um,
Colin?
The
Yes, the rebate is income
companies,
Uh,
okay.
targeted.
Well, the commercial rebates are interesting.
Mhm.
So who do you expect to be using the public chargers? Because there is one at the ICC. I'm not sure how much it's used.
Yeah,
I use it all the time.
In the summer, it's used a lot.
They need more than one though.
yeah, so
So if they're being used, that's great. I,
a level two charger publicly available would be used by someone that didn't have one at home. Or someone who was visiting. Someone who's renting in the summertime, you know?
Mhm.
And I don't know if there would really be enough of a market that a high-speed DC would be feasible economically. Again, that I would never use a high-speed charger on the island unless I woke up one morning and anticipating making a trip and I had forgot to plug in the night before.
Then you borrow somebody else's car.
Mhm. Other comments or questions?
So one thought I had, and let's throw this out for discussion, would be, you know, we're not gonna obviously decide anything tonight, but if there's sufficient interest, you know, putting together a small task force, you know, and it doesn't have to be just this committee, it could be, you know, you and,
Yeah.
you know, other people that are interested in this. I mean, it seems to me that there's a whole lot of levels to it. The first is just informing people, like you said, about these rebates exist. And then, you know, ways of trying to create incentives for people in the town to move in that direction. You know, maybe trying to get the town itself. You know, the town itself is in the market for any vehicles at the moment,
yeah.
but to, you know, move that direction next time they do.
Well, would it make sense to have Holly's EV charger update now so we can see where we're at with EV chargers currently?
Yeah, we'll get to that, yeah, in a
You
moment.
know, is anything gonna be in the paper about the issue with the gas?
I hadn't thought, but I might write up something from IESC update.
That'd be really good for people to know,
Yeah,
I think.
We
And
should get a website so that they could go to with like information for a transition.
Something else that we use. How many times up and down the island will a certain amount of gasoline buy you, and how much does that cost? Because I know when I was going down the Sewing Circle, I went through a tank of gas a week. And all I did was drive from my house down to the Sewing Circle and home.
Mhm.
And, you know, if you're just bopping about town, you can go through a lot of gasoline pretty quickly.
but you can also charge at night, like you're not filling up every day.
Right, but I'm talking about, for those of us who don't have an electric car, what is the cost to not having an electric car? You know, to make the argument that this transition is a really good one, and think about it. You know? And so if you show people how much they're spending on a daily basis just to move around the island, it might be persuasive.
We can also talk about the additional cost of repair for combustion engines,
Oh,
which
yeah.
is much more than electric vehicles.
Right,
And
and
it's
it's simple on this island. Yeah.
And in truth, I mean, this proposal says that, fuel savings or somewhere between $1,200 and $2,000 a year. And I believe that's true if you are charging your car at home. If you're charging at a DC charger on the mainland,
You're gonna
the price of electricity is about double what you're paying at home. But at home, again, if you have an EV car, it is much more economical than a gasoline-powered vehicle.
Yeah, I've been thinking about this for us, trying to make an argument in favor of this. We could drive to Boston with an electric car and just give a bottle of wine to our company.
I think that's, because that's sort of been my calculation. And then when I looked last year, they weren't, well, I mean, what they say in their advertising as the range isn't the true range.
Mhm.
Because first of all, you're not gonna run it down to zero. Secondly,
Yeah.
it depends on the temperature and, you know.
Right, it's worse in the winter, but they're getting better.
So I think rather than, going to a lot more discussion, how do people feel about the notion of putting, people interested in the notion of putting together a small group to kind of explore the issue, think about steps that we could like recommend to this committee or to the IESC or to others or to the town? Is there interest in doing that?
Sure.
Okay, Trevor?
Yeah, so,
Yes.
and I would like it to not just be us.
Yeah, I think that's wise, yeah. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll send around an email and include Tom, of course, asking for, volunteers, and then, yeah, if people know that there's other people that are interested. Who else would you want to include?
Well, Gabe at PYFY, I think would be a really good person,
Yeah.
and he's actually sort of an ad hoc for ETIP, but I don't think he ever
Yeah.
comes to the things, but he's interested in that whole thing,
Yeah.
and he's got experience with it. So
And he's already been part of this discussion with Tom, so,
Yeah,
And Barry Waring, he knows set up his own solar system, he's really into electric cars and so on, so.
and maybe affordable housing, maybe we could somehow figure out how when the affordable houses are built, we could have them automatically have a charger in them.
Or at least stationed amongst them, so
Or
that,
a community one, like in the midst of the neighborhood.
okay. Well, we can invite.
And the impetus really is, it just takes one calamity at the store and we will have no retail fuel here. It could happen tomorrow.
Right.
And I know it will happen.
And I think that's part of the message. I
Yeah.
mean, people know that, but really,
And something
Yeah.
that happens even closer to home, it's not a calamity, but it is kind of. When they call the ferry up to make a reservation to actually buy a trip on the ferry, it's not always possible to do it within a timely manner. So there may be a couple of days where we don't have fuel just because of logistics.
all right. Okay, so that's the next step. We'll put together a task force.
Good.
Okay. So now Holly, you can update us on our EV charger,
Okay.
by et cetera, yeah.
But in this discussion, there is hope. The chargers that we have, we cannot put a modem on them. I talked to Greg Janny and it's not possible. However, I do have a, estimate, I'm waiting on another one to come through today sometime or tomorrow. On getting 2 chargers with modems and a service contract for 4 years that come in at like 8,600, so that still puts us below what we had estimated for this to be. And if you're gonna use those EV chargers that are dummies and put them at an IAP property, then the people that would be using them would be the ones that would be paying for the electricity if they're connected to those buildings.
Yeah,
So that's another place we could actually.
that's something to think about. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's actually a really good idea.
So we would basically be donating them to IAP,
Yeah,
but we're still coming in under budget in order to accomplish what we wanted to accomplish originally.
Yeah.
those buildings are not on one account though, right? They're on individual accounts per building, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, okay,
So-
so that would have to be worked out with CMP, how to apportion that. Okay.
Well, how many do we have? Two?
We have two, so we could put them in a duplex.
Yeah. Okay. All right, good news.
And I'm hoping the other one comes in under the 80, I think it's 80.
This is a little off topic, but a long time ago, I won a little. I used to subscribe to a thing called Clean Technica, and if you wrote a review for things, they would give you the thing free, and I got a free EV charger, and I gave it to Island Market, but I don't think they ever got around to putting it in, and there's no way. So we might actually have three we could put in if Sky would give that back.
Yeah,
It's a nice one.
yeah.
Mhm.
So that, and the only thing that would cost IAP is the wiring.
Yeah.
And the basically,
Installation.
got the,
Would we have money from, I mean, if we come in under budget, could we use some of our budget money to?
Conceivably, yeah.
yeah, because we're
We'll get back
at
to that in a minute.
4,000 or
yeah.
5,000.
Yeah, for the installation.
Once the installation of the chargers with the modems is complete, based on our original budget, come in
Okay.
or something.
All right, well, that's good to know. We'll get down to the budget in a few minutes, but we'll be on Bill, fire station.
Very fast. The contract was signed. Janet is in the process, if she has not already, of writing a check for the down payment. And it's just a question of scheduling the actual work. At the moment, it's tentatively set for the 15th of August, but that is a fluid target to be changed. So we're just moving parts around, trying to figure out when it will work for Evergreen Home Performance. So we're all set on that. Oh, and both Bill Shoppy and Ethan Spalding have been informed that that we've given the contract to somebody else, and they both understand why.
Yeah, just, I think Carrie, you got all the information just for the minutes. We reviewed the contract, the proposals that Bill got over email and had 6 votes, I think, in favor of the going with,
Trevor came in
Yeah.
recently, and
Yeah.
Ava also.
oh, yeah, I think I had Ava. I think that, anyways, we had approval of the contract by email.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've got the list of
Yeah.
votes I saw here.
Okay. The ground array for the health center, there's been no progress. I did try to reach out to Nick Batista at the Island Institute, who had said when he was here that he thought might be able to help us with the permitting process, but he never got back to me. Jessica, did you hear anything from anybody?
No, but the permitting blocks at the Department of Interior are now illegal. And they're supposed to be processing permits. I don't know if that means that it's still too risky to proceed, but we will be able to reevaluate based on
Okay.
new information soon.
Okay, so maybe we should get all of our consultants on that and see what she said.
Until there's a challenge to the court decision, and that may take us through several more courts.
Okay, so Elizabeth, the update.
First big thing, this month has been, I've been working with our grant subcommittee group, and we had something emerge where, Candace, at ICC informed me that their, Dylan Allen, who's the son, is it Chris Allen is the father? Yeah, who he's 18 years old, high school senior or junior now, but will be senior this year, who's looking for volunteer opportunities over the summer. And Candace suggested, she kind of gave us first dibs and said, what if Energy Committee could use a nice young person to do some audits and kind of get our summer community more involved with Energy Committee work. So I've had a conversation with him, and he's super interested. He said he's happy to do kind of hands-on work. He's got about 5 hours a week available to volunteer because he works at Dark Harbor shop, and he also has to do, it sounds like SAT prep, so I don't want to get in the way of that. But yeah,
He's not gonna.
so I think that would be a great opportunity to have him. I brought up in our conversations doing some visits to some of the summer cottages, if possible, if he or his family kind of has a list of people who they think might be interested in getting involved, because that was kind of where we ran into a sort of wall of, you know, who would we get involved in this? And so I said, if you want to start brainstorming people who you think know you and would be willing to have you come in, and I was going to send him some sort of prep material about things like heat pumps, different kind of appliances to look out for in the house, whether or not a person has solar and what kind of impacts that can have. So kind of in the brainstorming phase there of what we can hand off to him and how to prep him to get here. He'll be here in about a month at the end of June. So we've got a little bit of time, but he would like to kind of be caught up on information by the time he gets here, because he'll be here over the summer for about 2 months. And like I said, 5 hours a week, so it's not a whole lot of time. But yeah, so if you want to talk more about that or brainstorm about it, let me know, or we can kind of do that on the next little like grant group call or something like that. But that is kind of the first update there. And then also we'll talk about ETIP after this, but we're moving into our technical assistance phase, which is awesome. Looking at microgrid design. This month I've also had really great conversations about CMP billing. Thank you, Bill, for taking a lot of time with me to talk about how different counts are organized and all of that kind of stuff, showing me all of that data that you've collected. I was thinking about kind of ways to continue with a comprehensive sort of data presentation for the summer or fall, kind of combining that residential energy data that we did a couple months ago with a look at the municipal side and how can we kind of cohesively present some sort of information to Hasbro. Yeah, and looking ahead, I'm starting my second year fellowship work plan. That's due at the end of June. And we're thinking about, Janice and I are thinking about starting a comprehensive energy plan for Islesboro, and perfect tie-in to what you're talking about today with how do we move towards electrification and less reliance on fuel oil and what's realistic. So we're going to start kind of conceiving of that. But if we want to talk about what makes the most sense for me to be doing in the second year, we can also do that. And then something that came up at the last meeting, and I didn't really push to put it on the agenda like I thought I had, but maybe at next meeting, if we could set aside just like 5 to 10 minutes to go over the Google Drive and how that's organized. I think that that's something that we were noticing isn't really understood as a group. Like it could be helpful to have a refresher as a group.
I think it'd be great.
And I'm happy to just share my screen and kind of show at least where my work is, if people want to see that, is what I was thinking.
Have you noticed that some of the invoices have been numbered?
Yeah, I did notice that. Yeah. So that's it.
Yes, I think there are several of us who are not terribly familiar with Google Drive, really.
It isn't so much the familiarity with the drive as the quantity of material with no clear overarching structure. So it takes forever to find something unless you've been in it a lot.
Yeah, so maybe talk about like best things to bookmark or something like that. And if you have like questions, like specific things, maybe email me. I was just gonna put like a little 5 to 10 minute thing together.
Okay, we'll do that at the next meeting.
That's
Thanks.
yeah, thank you.
Okay. ETIP, do you wanna update ETIP or do you want?
That was kind of the bullet point I had here. We're moving from the scope phase to technical assistance. So working on getting microgrid models and designs on the lab side. So it's kind of, from what I understood at our last couple of meetings, Brian and the lab folks who came out and visited, who we all met in April, they're moving towards getting the NDA figured out with CMP about data sharing and like what all they can collect. And it's on the municipal level right now, maybe later into some residences that would want to share their data about energy use, demand, solar, things like that. To try and start drawing up models of how much a demonstration microgrid would cost, and also, you know, what all it could generate with different scenarios. So like if we had some PV, some oil, some diesel, battery backup, those kinds of scenarios is what they're modeling. There's one more thing I was gonna say about that. But I think, oh, so I took some photos of some meters of different town accounts so that we have those for CMP. Yeah, that was about it for ETIP, and please correct me or add on if I missed it.
So Tom, since you're here, do you think the market would be willing to, share the meter data on
I think
energy?
so.
Yeah.
We took a photo. Some,
I'd be happy for, my house to
awesome.
be part of the information. Because I have a solar grid and an EV, that would be an interesting thing to.
Have you kept
Yeah.
records of that?
I think there are records that I've not kept, but I think there are records, yes.
The thing I was forgetting was, part of their cost estimates is looking at the, like, island difference in prices to put in solar arrays or construction.
I wasn't gonna bring this up at this meeting, but since you said it,
Yeah.
I just finished talking to Revision.
Oh.
And what they said was that there is no island surcharge other than the cost of the ferry, period.
Interesting.
Yep.
I'll add that in the notes.
I know that, Revision was installed my system, and my son works there. And there's also an online part of it called Solar Edge that allows you to see your
Yep.
historical production and use, yeah.
Yeah, we do that.
Mhm.
Yeah, we have the town's records and some of us do that for our own homes, yeah.
No, excuse me, I'll check out now.
Okay. Thank you for coming, yes. Okay, okay, Bill, do you have anything to add to
Just
the
to-
town electrical use report? Yeah.
Tell everybody.
Yeah.
We have been interested in why the health center costs so much. But in beginning to think about that, what we discovered is that there are ongoing questions, efforts to finish the checklist for the building. And those have been complicated by the fact that the contractor that did built the building, has gone out of business. So they've been working with subcontractors subsequently to try to work through that checklist. And while we would like to be involved, in figuring out the problems and so on, it seems that we ought not to complicate what's already in the offing. So we're going to just sit tight for a while and see. And there was supposed to be a subcontractor visit tomorrow to go over the building and see what could be done. That has now been delayed until the end of the month. And so we're just sort of twiddling our thumbs to make sure that that is all resolved and we don't complicate it. And then we'll see what role we might have.
So Chris Withers, who's now the medical director, Bill and I walked around the building with him. He is very interested in, tightening up and making things work better.
Or Harriet had to deal with two data geeks.
Deal with what?
Two data geeks. Chris and
Data geeks, I thought you said data leaks.
data geeks. I stumbled over what I was trying to say, so it came out bizarrely.
All right, okay, event committee, do you have anything?
No updates.
Okay. And the grant committee, I know you've been working on, who wants to?
Well, I could start, and Prescott, if you want to jump in. I mean, we've been working on this, community action grant. And I think Prescott sent around the draft
Yeah.
date. We have till the end of the month really to get things wrapped up with that. I think it's due, June 5th, something like that. So the basic outline of it is, we're asking for funds for a, strategic planner, to help, put everything in order to, move toward writing an RFP, even if it's a draft RFP, by the end of the grant funding. And that person would take, a lot of the heavy lifting off the volunteers of this group. And also help with the, help Elizabeth with the, energy plan and to continue on our work with trying to, do community outreach and, you know, the energy coaching and reducing load, which all goes with the ETIP stuff too. So it's kind of taking everything we've done and going from, ETIP keeps telling us they can't give us specifics to build a microgrid, so we're going from the general stuff from ETIP to getting down to specifics about what it would look like here.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of what we do, we run up against just bandwidth. I mean, you know, with an all-volunteer group and
Right.
realizing that to really make some of the things we've been talking about happen would help to have.
And part of the strategic planner would also be to do community outreach to explain what the project is and, you know, get community buy-in and, information. So, we're asking for the full 75,000. Is that for 1 year or 2 years? Kreska?
We'd ask for 2 years because our timeline kind of necessitates
Yeah.
2 years.
And originally, we weren't gonna work toward an RFP, but I think there's no harm in getting a draft RFP. We don't necessarily have to send it out. But as long as we've got somebody with the expertise to do the planning, we might as well get help with, working on getting an RFP, and that would include, this person helping us figure out where we can get funding and, what engineering firms or construction firms would be interested in working out here. So really getting a detailed plan to present to the community and to the select board about what we would do. And then we just have to figure out if the time is right to do it.
When is this due in June?
It's.
Yeah.
June.
The one thing that speaking of the select board, the select board will meet tomorrow and one more time right before the application is due. So ideally, we would present, like you just presented, to the select board tomorrow and ask them for permission to like prepare a letter that they could then sign in the interim. Is anybody willing to?
You have a person on the inside now.
Yeah.
I actually have, I can't be there. I have previous.
I mean, I could go tomorrow, but you know, we're not on the agenda, but they do have a community comments
Yeah.
portion of the agenda, which is where they usually put me. But we don't have a new chair yet, right?
No, we're electing tomorrow.
Okay. Well, I can make it quick.
Yeah, so that if you look at the graph that we sent
Yeah,
around, the
yeah.
background and the proposals all right there, so it shouldn't be,
Um,
as long as people have read it and agree with it.
Now, the other thing that I did talk to Kathy yesterday, she did talk to Michael Nelson at IAP about, you know, are they gonna apply for I can't remember the name of the grant, the Island Institute, that was like the will come available in July.
Yep,
And she was gonna, you know, verify this with them to make sure that it sounded like they probably were not going to, we don't wanna both apply for it. And that's a relatively census, you know, a more limited grant, that's like $25,000, but that's money that could be used to help residents, you know, with their homes, so that, and the application's not even available yet, it'll be available in July, so. All right, so I apologize that I didn't circulate the budget summary earlier, so people can look at it. This is just an updated version of what I circulated before, with my usual comment that it's not this is not an accountant, you know, I get the report from Brian and take the numbers from that, but he just has like one category with all of our things sort of you know, lumped together. So that's why I separated out into this. There haven't been a lot of changes since the last time, and I apologize, I didn't get around to, Trevor had asked if I could put it on Excel.
I can do this.
Well, you know, to tell you the truth, for stuff that's simple calculation. For me, it's easy, it's faster to just do the calculations myself than to try to. Excel.
Unless you have to change it multiple times.
Yeah.
Then Excel
It's,
is really.
it's like a one-time investment. and
Yeah,
then-
yeah. Anyways, so the only addition, oh, there was one charge on there which was paid back. When was this paid? It was back in January, reimbursement for LED bulbs, and I couldn't remember
Oh,
what
that was-
project that was.
That was, it was things we gave out at the Christmas fair.
Okay, so that should go under probably
Program.
events. I put it,
Yeah,
couldn't remember, I put it under fire station just because I wasn't sure. I'll switch that around.
yeah.
But anyways, the EV chargers. We spent $1740, but we have not been, Brian says he hasn't paid any subsequent payments. So we haven't,
Do you want me to check with Brian?
well, I did, I checked with him today. I don't know what the story is there, anyways.
You want me to find out what the story is?
Sure, if you can,
Okay.
but
Whom would we have been paying?
the solar logics,
Logic.
what they put in
That
that
they installed them.
this was the 1740 was the down payment. Community events, that's straightforward. The 1450 that was charged to the prize, that was for the donation that we made with the window dressers to the people for paying for additional units for some of the people who qualified. And then on the flip, it's on 2 pages, unfortunately it goes on to, so I have E-tip here. E-tip, we've received 17,500 to date. I have to invoice them for the next payment. And the 798.54, that was for the lunches on the site visit date. The library solar is on here. That didn't come out of committee money. It was paid for by the Friends of the Library. The remaining 16,500 was what was expected from rebates, and I did ask Brian, and he says he submitted all the paperwork for the rebates on the library solar as well as the health center solar, and has not gotten any money yet. So in theory, these are still available, and that's what we had talked about for, next year's projects, but that's what it is. The IRS.
Yeah, no wonder it's not moving.
Yeah, so the program is called Direct Pay for municipalities and nonprofits in lieu of a tax credit. And so it goes in, it has to go in with the town's tax. The town doesn't pay federal income taxes, but does pay employment taxes and so on. We'll see about that. So then
We got our budget.
yes, that's what I was gonna say next, yes, so for next year. What we had requested was, I think it's 77,500 and. We had planned to put that to, solar panel, additional solar arrays. And also, and I was explicit with when I submitted that to the select board in addition. And, that we're hoping in addition to use what we had remaining, and I'm not sure exactly how much that's, which maybe is, around 30,000. The remaining balance of what was not spent this year also to solar arrays, and I will verify that with him. That we will do that. So. As far as how much we have in the budget for the EV chargers, I think we can do what I'm talking about. And what was the other thing? Oh, do we want to take some money from what we have here to, we actually have 3 EV chargers.
We actually have 4 because Greg Janney, I was talking to him, he still has the original one.
Right,
So
okay.
we could actually,
So we could approach IAP So that would mean donating them to the IAP. And, but they would then have to pay, the residents would then have to pay for the electricity if they had electric vehicles.
Right. But we would install them.
We would install them, yeah.
May I ask, why is it that the store has not installed the one that you gave them?
I imagine, it's just like overload on their part, and then it's just a charger. There's no way to charge someone else for it, so like
It
employees.
doesn't
could
have the
use
modem.
It
that's-
doesn't, it's not intended as a business, it's intended for a residential charger.
Same problem we run into, yeah.
So,
They would be paying for it out of their electric bill.
right,
They probably don't want somebody taking up parking space that long too.
right.
Yeah.
It was a very interesting process to try to find somebody to take it. I offered it to Boardman first because I thought eventually their employees would maybe, or visitors. Second Baptist Church didn't want to deal with, people using it. And then getting stuck with the electricity. So the whole process was really.
Cumbersome.
Mhm.
Okay, so do we have a motion to approach the IAP? And, first of all, find out if they would be interested in having these installed for their residents.
So moved.
Yeah, sure, I'll do that.
Okay, we can take a vote on that. Ava,
Yes.
Jessica,
Sure.
Holly,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Dennis?
Yes.
Yeah, sure, okay, so we will do that. And that's actually a reasonable.
Is there any room in the budget for helping to, like, tighten up the IAP buildings that are so leaky?
Well, that's what we were talking about, the grant that's coming available in July.
That's what you wanted to use it for with the clean energy, but is there anything that we have, like, right now that could?
No, yeah, go ahead.
I was talking to Mike Nelson, about this over the weekend.
Mhm.
And they're trying to pursue this first with the contractors. They don't hold out a lot of hope, but they're trying hard.
Okay.
So it's as with the health center, it's kind of like up in the air at the moment. But they've already evaluated the leakiness of the building and they already have input to how to solve the problem.
Mhm.
They're just trying to find out if somebody else, will do it.
What they have to do to solve it?
What I remember Mike saying, and I'm gonna be talking with him a little bit more extensively after Mike gets back into town next week. They intend to put additional insulation in the attic over the buildings. I hope that we check before we do that to make sure that those have been sealed.
Mhm.
If the work overall is as bad as the joining of the two buildings, then there's a good chance that they didn't weather seal that space before they insulated. So we need to have a look at that first. So there's that, and then they have a proposition for closing off the gaps in the building,
Mhm.
but they don't want to do that until they can explore holding the contractor responsible. Yeah, so they have a plan. The only thing I hope is that plan covers all the details, and so.
So we cannot use money that is allocated to us by the town for private residences. We, can use grant money. I mean, I guess the EGIP money is unrestricted. So, conceivably, we can use some of that, and then we were hoping perhaps to get more money for that purpose, yeah.
Harriet, it's a two-phase question, actually. First, what if we were to go to the select board and ask for permission to do something specific that we hadn't asked for before? But the other question is, what if we weren't giving the money to those inhabitants, to the people who live in there? What if we were creating a fund that would get them started and then they paid it back?
Well, that's sort of what IESC does, and,
Right.
they do it as sort of a separate organization, so it sort of
So maybe
requires
Tom
that
could help
kind
us
of
with that.
structure. Perhaps, yes. But again, their focus is on business and,
We've talked before
Now,
about creating a
there's
quasi-municipal.
IAP could do that.
Mhm.
we have this continuing problem of silos. And if the silos would simply overlap a little bit, we get a lot more done.
Yeah.
Well, this is a start. I mean, they're coming to us and asking questions. I think
Yes.
it's fantastic.
Yeah, no, I think, so. So anyways, that's the long answer.
Oh,
What's your question?
yeah, they've also talked to you about, the energy committee reviewing like plans in the future to make sure that things that they build are energy efficient.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
yes, they
you
did.
mentioned that, yeah.
I think that, yeah, I mean, there definitely are people on the committee like Bill who are very knowledgeable and willing to do that.
Mhm.
I know with the health center, there was a lot of, trimming of costs to keep it within the budget as it was built. I don't know any of the
Yeah.
details.
Well, we're still waiting for the construction plans.
Yeah.
The blueprints. So we can
After it's done.
well, I mean, we made this request.
Yeah, I have to go back through my emails because.
It's been about 2 weeks, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Because we don't know.
Responded.
I don't know if it's a panel construction or a stick construction or what. If it's panel construction, then they leave channels for the running of wires.
Yeah.
We don't know how those channels are insulated, whether the
Yeah.
electric get. We know nothing.
Wow.
I know nothing about how that building was put together.
Yeah, I did.
You asked the architect, and
Yes, and
Lauren has said that he's very cooperative, very
I'm
helpful.
trying to remember, there was, I'll go back to my emails. There's
Well,
something
my-
about it was gonna be it's a very large file.
You can
So-
send it page at a time.
Yeah, so, that's whatever, I have to go back. again.
That's what I have to do
Yeah,
with my
okay.
sister and photographs.
So,
I can't send more than 3 at a time.
all right. Now, one thing we need to talk about is our June meeting date. We had moved it because of election day from, we moved it from the 9th to the 2nd, which is only like 2 weeks from now.
Yeah,
Oh, my gosh.
So our options are to keep that and meet in 2 weeks, to switch it to the, what is that, the
16,
16th,
or to skip it.
or to. Yeah,
Wouldn't that depend a little bit upon how quickly things develop? I mean, could we do this sort of conditionally? If nothing's happening, then maybe we don't need the meeting, we can wait. But if something moves and we need to talk or report,
but then that gets sort of complicated if, people set their schedules and, make plans and dinner parties and.
Well, the grant
Yeah.
is due 3 days after that.
Yeah.
So if we just want to focus on the final changes or amendments to the grant.
so yeah, a mini meeting focused entirely on the grant.
Well, maybe we could have Elizabeth do her presentation about the Google Drive. Or we could move it to the 16th.
I mean, we can do the grant thing, but with a Zoom or just,
Isn't there a grant subcommittee?
there is
maybe we do the grant mostly by email.
email.
I think.
Okay,
I think a meeting on the 16th makes
Yeah.
sense, and we can schedule it, and then if we decide to cancel it.
okay.
Yeah, that's what I was.
So we have a motion to move it to the 16th,
So,
second?
I may not be here, but that's.
Yeah. Okay, okay, so we have a motion to move it to the 16th. Janice said she may not be available. Any other comments? No. Okay, so we'll vote, so moving to the 16th, Cressica,
Sure.
Ava,
Yeah, that worked.
okay, Holly,
Yeah,
okay, Bill,
yes,
Janice,
Yes.
Trevor?
Yep.
Okay, so we're gonna do that on the 16th. Any other?
Well, I see that Elizabeth Hayden joined us.
Yes,
Yeah, I was just listening in, thank you.
yeah. Any, well, we're happy to have you. Any questions that you have?
No, not at this time. Thank you.
Okay. Any other? We have a motion to adjourn.
Sure.
Okay, so we'd have to go through our roll call vote. Cressica? Motion to adjourn.
Yes.
Ava?
Yes.
Holly?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Adjourn. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.